Since I was very little, my memories are that we lived in the countryside or on a farm, as my parents used to say. We were really alone. We didn't have any family, and that made me feel very isolated with a sense of loneliness. And my parents, they were very old fashioned. There wasn't any of that kissing, hugging, or showing affection. It was more like you stay there, I stay here, a harsher way of being. In fact, I have more bad memories than good ones of them. Because when I was 6 years old, they were in a car accident and both of them died. At that time, everything was very chaotic. I feel like I forgot some things, but I remember others. I even remember that there was someone who was taking care of me, of my documents, and now I understand that it was the Child Protective Services. They were taking care of me and everything, and they realized and said that I didn't have anyone to stay with me. I didn't have any relatives. And until they could contact a relative or someone, I would stay in the orphanage. So I went to the orphanage and I stayed there until I was 14 years old. So I lived there for many years, right? I grew up in the orphanage. When I turned 14, they contacted an aunt, one of my aunts, who was a relative of my father from another state, and it was very difficult. Someone there managed to find her through my last name. They talked, and the information really matched. I was sent to her house, and when I arrived at this aunt's house, she was a single woman. And my cousin was there. He was 17 years old at the time. Back then, she lived in a big house, but it was just the two of them. And she didn't really know my father or have much contact with him. They were related through mutual family connections, but they were distant relatives. But this aunt of mine was easygoing. I felt that I could talk to her, that I could speak with her. And my cousin, he was very polite and he also did things to please me, did things to make me happy. I felt that my aunt was a little jealous, but since I was a girl, even though we were family, I wasn't raised there, so she didn't know me that well. She didn't mind about us being close. I also remember that I made friends very quickly, that I made female friends very quickly, and I always respected my aunt's schedule. There were several times when I wanted to go out and my aunt would let me, but she was very strict. So she would say, at this time, you have to be home. So at that time, I was home. It was also to build trust with her. I remember actually that there was a time during vacation, those long mid-year school breaks, and some friends from school had invited me to go out, and I went out. And this aunt of mine, she had a daughter who was older and lived somewhere else. And then my aunt went to visit her, and she said we should stay because we had classes, both me and my cousin. And she told my cousin to keep an eye on me. And my cousin, he was always very easygoing. So I asked my aunt if I could go to this party with my friends during the vacation, and my aunt let me, but she told my cousin to look after me there, like to pay attention to me, and that I had to be home by 10 o'clock. She left, and I left. My cousin was very worried and called every 8 minutes, always asking if everything was okay or if I needed anything. And when it was 10 o'clock, I was already at the door of the house telling my aunt that I was coming in, always trying to show that I was trustworthy. That day, my cousin, he like had made dinner for us. And then we ate there, stayed together. Then we went to the living room, put on a movie, made popcorn, and we fell asleep. We slept cuddled up, but it was that kind of cuddle, with respect, a cuddle with affection, and he was so cute. And I was always very pretty too. And so I had that moment with him and all, but that was it. Nothing else happened. The next day, he woke me up with breakfast, a really beautiful breakfast table. And he asked me to be his girlfriend. And that was really romantic, and we started dating, but you know how it is, right? I was already afraid of my aunt. But he told his mother everything, and we had a very open relationship with her. He would say, it's better if we tell her, we have nothing to hide from her. My mom, she'll allow it, she's permissive, as long as we also respect the boundaries she sets and all that. It was an amazing experience for me because I didn't, maybe in another video, I'll talk about my life and how it was at the orphanage. I like to remember the time from when I arrived at my aunt's house onward. Because after that, we had a lot of support to study, to pursue our careers. Everyone always used to compliment me, to stop me and say that I was very beautiful, that I had very beautiful features, right? And I got an opportunity to do a job in my city for some brands. We started doing some jobs, some things, and I started growing in this industry. And my cousin, my boyfriend, since he always came with me and was around, he also got interested in cameras and he would take pictures of me. We had this thing, you know. Oh, my cousin, he was just a few years older than me, so we grew up together a lot, you know. So he found his career path at the same time I was finding mine too. And we developed together, you know. We grew up until we started saving some money because we lived at home. I lived at my aunt's house. He lived with his mother. We didn't have to pay rent. We didn't have expenses. We were already finishing school and we were already doing our jobs, right? I was working as a model and he was working as a photographer. We started saving our money so we could go abroad and broaden our horizons, so I could also work internationally just like him. And we left the country when we were still very young. We started our life here. Married, of course, we have our arguments, we have our life, but we have a 14-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son, and I still work as a model. And one thing that really gets to me, one thing that irritates me since I became a mother, is that I still have a very angelic face and a very delicate beauty. And sometimes people get my age wrong. They think I look like a young girl, like a child. They get confused. Because of that, I feel I don't always project authority in my appearance, and I can't really complain about it. Because I am a successful woman, my husband is a successful man, and we are happy living here. And every time people ask about my story, I like to tell this story because it's the story that changed my life. Hi, my cats. How are you all doing? Guys, for those who want to become a channel member, click here. In the description, you have access to the 12 videos that I have scheduled, which are released on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. There, I schedule all of them and you can choose which one you want to watch. At the start of each month, I upload them for you, and soon there will be exclusive, really cool videos there. So, become a member here. Send me your story at historiascanaldiadepola@gmail.com. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Kisses, and see you in the next video.